we want to save some time. Also, Gigi said he might take a little bit more than 20 minutes, so we're gonna 21 is enough, no? So, yeah, he doesn't need introduction. He's gonna be talking about cryptography is not enough. So please, let's all give a warm welcome to Gigi.
All right. Is that too loud? I'll try to keep it close. So, thanks for showing up. I'm actually blown away by how many people came. So my talk is gonna be, it's a speech actually. It's a longish speech on paradoxes and antinomies. And the title is Cryptography is Not Enough. And before I begin, I just want to get one thing out of the way. And that is, the code is speech, and speech is code. And if speech isn't free, as in freedom, then we're running into censorship and tyranny. And privacy is not secrecy, cypherpunks write code, and running the numbers is not a crime. We should all remember that. So numbers, 3 numbers. I'm going to talk about 3 numbers today, and this is going to be, as I said, a speech in 3 acts. And the 3 numbers are going to be 12, 21, and 10. So, let's go. Number 12, Act 1. All right, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is code. As we all know, it's computer code. But more importantly, I believe, it's also representative of a moral code. And the moral code is, you shall not inflate, you shall not confiscate, you shall not counterfeit. In short, you shall not steal. That's what Bitcoin is saying, basically. So I like to say that Bitcoin is knowledge, and you'll see this very quickly in this talk, that this is actually literally true. It's literally true in many ways. And a guy who is long dead once said that knowledge is power. Does anyone know who said knowledge is power? It's really important that someone knows. Francis Bacon. Very good. So if knowledge is power and Francis Bacon and Bitcoin is knowledge, we can deduce very easily that Bitcoin is Bacon. So a lot of people get a lot of hate by telling other people what Bitcoin actually is. Like, you know, Bitcoin is time, and Bitcoin is energy, and Bitcoin is a battery, and so on. And I'm going to prove to you that Bitcoin is Bacon. Because we like to, you know, don't trust, verify, and so on. So Bitcoin is Bacon, what the fuck? Has he completely lost its mind? No, actually not, you know? It's a fun little fact. 25 times Bacon is a valid Bitcoin wallet. 24 words, BIP39. You can try it. Blue wallet, enter Bacon 24 times. You'll have access to a Bitcoin wallet. And don't use it. I mean, you'll lose all your money. It's a really stupid idea, but it works. All right. So there, Bacon times 24. And the cool thing is, there are many words like this: gas, grade, slice, solution, sum of day, trade, trap, zero, and so on. And there are 241 words like this. Some work with 12 words, and some with 24. And 12 words, that's literally what Bitcoin is. Like the way, it depends on how you look at it, but 12 words, it's literally what it is, because 12 magic words give you access to your Bitcoin. And funnily enough, 12 times word works too. It's a valid Bitcoin wallet, so open Blue Wallet and the word 12 times, you got access. That's Bitcoin. Easy as that. 12 magic words, that's what Bitcoin is. But they have to be random. It's kind of important. Like the Bacon wallet is not a very, very good wallet, so they have to be random to be secure, as you all know. And of course, the 12 words, they also have to be valid for them to be a valid private key. That's why not any old word works. But if they're valid, they represent your private key, and that's how it works. And then you have access to Bitcoin. 12 and valid and word also works. So 12 times, valid 12 times, word 12 times. So Bitcoin is literally 12 valid words. And with that, let's move on to Act 2, which is going to be about the number 21. All right, Bitcoin. It's paradoxical and unintuitive. So a lot of you probably know the paradoxical nature of Bitcoin already, but I'm going to show you some things that, you know, if you're a noob, it will blow your mind. Maybe if you're a little bit newer to Bitcoin, it will still blow your mind. You all know the story of the guy, the sage who went to India to play chess against the king, and The king really liked chess, and so he accepted the game, and he was like, okay, in case you win, dear sage, what do you want as repayment? The sage was a very humble guy, and he was going like, I just need like 1 grain of rice, and you put it on the chessboard, and then on the next square of the chessboard you put 2, and on the next one 4, and so on and so forth. And the king was like, that sounds great, let's do it. And of course the sage won, and the king started putting rice on the chessboard. And it turns out that this is a fuck ton of rice. So this adds up to 18 quintillion grains of rice. So this is a very unintuitive outcome. And it's a literal metric fuck ton, so 210 billion tons of rice. And that's enough to cover India 1 meter deep in rice. So it is a lot of rice. Back to the 12 magic words. I already told you that they have to be random. And the way that it works is you can think of these 12 magic words as having the power to open up a box in cyberspace. But it's a paradoxical box, and once you have the power to open it, you can put Bitcoin in it, and so on and so forth. But your 12 magic words, they have to remain private. If they are private, then the thing stays locked. And again, you can put sats in it, like you can put 1 million sats into this box. And if you take good care of your private key and you don't do anything stupid and it stays private, then everything is good. If you're actually stupid and you put your private key on like a public presentation that you're giving, and you put your 12 magic words into some slides, then suddenly Bitcoin becomes very paradoxical, because we always say you can own Bitcoin, it's the only thing you can truly own, and so on. So the sets, the 1 million sets that are in the box, like 10 minutes ago, I owned these million sets. Who owns them now? All of you, basically. Yeah, no, you just got rug pulled. Like they're like 100% gone, because I tweeted this out 20 minutes ago, and some of the artists on Twitter are way faster than you guys are, so someone's rich. Very good. So the way that this works is we have 2048 works. If you have a 12-word seed phrase, it's approximately 128-bit security. And back to the, rice board story, it's a really big number, and with the rice board it was 18 quintillion. Here are the quintillions, where many of orders of magnitudes, like way more rice. So remember, the quintillions was enough to cover all of India 1 meter deep. And with Bitcoin, it's more like the entire visible universe covered in rice, and you have to pick out one, like you have to pick out the right grain to steal from me. So that's where Bitcoin's security comes from. And so if your private key is actually random, then it's actually secure, and if you manage to keep it private and you're not an idiot, then you're good. And if you check both these boxes, then Bitcoin works fine for you. So this talk is going to be about paradoxes, as I told you, and I'm going to rattle some of them off. It's going to be very similar to the one of ownership that we just saw and experienced. And like, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Bitcoin is not literally a battery. That's not what the people mean when they say it. Bitcoin is not literally time, although it's close, I'll tell you at the Act 3. And I think Bitcoin is so hard to understand. All understanding is based on metaphor. So people try to come up with all kinds of metaphors to understand Bitcoin correctly, but I think all metaphors fall short. Bitcoin is its own thing. And you actually have to build a personal relationship to it and try to understand it on your own and make up your own mind of what Bitcoin is. And it's literally true on the technical level. You have to define yourself what Bitcoin is. All right. We already saw that you can't possess Bitcoin, but as is evidenced by the man in the green suit, you can't be possessed by Bitcoin. I always thought that was funny. Bitcoin is everywhere and nowhere. Bitcoin can't be copied, yet every part of Bitcoin can be copied. Bitcoin is always changing, yet Bitcoin is unchangeable. Bitcoin is digital, yet it is scarce. It used to be an oxymoron, digital scarcity. Now it's not anymore. Bitcoin is dead, as the mainstream media will tell you, yet Bitcoin is alive. Bitcoin is the bubble, yet as we all know, Bitcoin is the pin. Bitcoin is simple, yet it is complicated. Bitcoin is elegant, yet it's also very complex. Bitcoin is ugly, but it's beautiful. Bitcoin is worse, is better. Great article by Warren, everyone should read it. Many years old now. Bitcoin is worthless, but Bitcoin is always too expensive. Bitcoin is finite, yet Bitcoin is endless. Bitcoin is private, yet Bitcoin is completely transparent. Bitcoin is energy intensive, yet Bitcoin is efficient. Bitcoin is slow, yet Bitcoin is fast as lightning. Bitcoin can't be confiscated, yet Bitcoin can't be lost. Bitcoin is text, yet Bitcoin is money. I'm sorry, I'm really dependent on this clicker to work. Bitcoin is time, Bitcoin is energy. Bitcoin is savings, yet Bitcoin is streaming money. Bitcoin is conservative and Bitcoin is progressive. Bitcoin is political, like the idea of it is very political, but the resulting system is completely apolitical. It cannot judge, it cannot discriminate. Anyone can use it. Bitcoin is lawless, yet when it comes to Bitcoin transactions, Bitcoin is the law. Bitcoin is math, and Bitcoin is physics, and Bitcoin is religion, and Bitcoin is atheism. Shout out to Knut. Bitcoin is love. Bitcoin is fuck you. Bitcoin is the chain, and Bitcoin and slavery. Sorry, I skipped over that. Shout out to Ben Gunn. Like, I asked on Twitter, what's the most paradoxical thing about Bitcoin? And that was the answer that I liked most. It's Bitcoin is a chain, and yet it ends slavery. It's fantastic. So Bitcoin is 12 words in your head, and Bitcoin is 21 million. Bitcoin is knowledge, and knowledge is power. So where does the power come from in Bitcoin? The power in Bitcoin comes from asymmetry all the way down. It's not only in cryptography, it's in all other areas as well. Like information asymmetry, knowledge asymmetry is everything. So it's hard to produce and easy to verify. And this has to be true for money, and it also has to be true for cryptography in general. Like the cryptographic puzzle, the solution to it has to be very easy to verify, like a Rubik's Cube, but it has to be hard to do, otherwise it's useless. And also if money is not hard to produce, it's useless as money. So Bitcoin checks both these boxes, and we're gonna look at signatures and blocks, like two building blocks, pardon the pun, of Bitcoin that are very important. So a signature is private. A valid block is entirely public. And this is why we have the split here. So you have a private world in Bitcoin and you have the public world in Bitcoin. And so the signature you create in private. If you don't do this, you're wrecked. Like not your keys, not your Bitcoin. And the ledger is completely public and global. The one is dealing with secret information, the other one with completely public information. Like that's a big difference. And this difference makes the split between the 12 words in your head, for example, and the 21 million that everyone can verify. All right. So Bitcoin is a little bit like yin and yang, and you have to put the two together to make sense of it all. And as we all know, Bitcoin is not black and white, so we have to add some color to the thing. As we all know, Bitcoin is orange. And that is what brings us to Act 3. And I have to breathe for a minute. All right, Act 3. Bitcoin is the orange tree. It's gonna get weird now, so the easy part is over. All right. So what's the root problem that Bitcoin solves? Oh no, that looks like something hangs now. No? It's bright and so on. Can't the computer, like, will it crash after slide 400? No, I didn't do anything wrong, did I? Was it me? All right, rocked again. I don't have to do anything, do I? That's a way to spoil everything. What the hell, man? All right. You didn't see this. All right, anyone knows what the root problem of Bitcoin? Fuck it. So Satoshi actually told you, and I hope you all have read the book of Satoshi and so on. So Satoshi was very clear about this. The root problem with conventional currency is all the trust that's required to make it work. And he wrote about this like in 100 million places, and he was harping on about that all the time. So trust is actually the root problem. And the problem with trust is that it can be abused. And we see this all around us. I mean, you know, it's kind of obvious currently. And so he said that in Bitcoin, we can rely on crypto proof and we don't have to rely on trust. And this is what this talk is going to be about in the end. I hope to convince you that crypto proof alone is not enough. I'm not saying that Satoshi was wrong, even though he was wrong about some things. I think he was a fallible human being, and there are very nice, you know, papers that go through detail about what he got wrong and so on. But it's just, we can see very clearly that it's not enough if we look at how the trust problem was solved historically. And historically, it was always solved by these guys that show up in very nice suits with very nice smiles on their very nice faces, and they were just going like, yeah, trust us. Like, I'm a banker, I'm this guy, and so on and so forth. And you can just trust us. And so we solved it by authority mostly. And now we replace this with cryptography. Like, does it get better automatically, like magic? I don't think it does get better like magic. Like, unfortunately, unfortunately, Vitalik became kind of the face of cryptography. So now we have these kind of, you know, crypto bros telling us, yeah, trust us. Like, you don't have to understand how anything works and so on, and you don't have to run your own node, you don't have to hold your own keys, you don't have, just trust us. It's gonna work out just fine. And so they turn into the new politicians, but they're just, you know, like in their early 20s and I don't know, dancing to weird stuff on stage. Nothing wrong with dancing, but you know what I mean. And so trust us is what politicians always said, and we want to get away from this because that's the current state of things. And Bitcoin, in the end, is about the separation of money and state. And that's why we're here, and that's what we kind of want to achieve. That's also Satoshi and White Eye and others, they were very clear about this, you know, like we want to produce a money that cannot be influenced by human beings, even though it's running on human beings, kind of, which is another paradox. So cryptography is not enough, because cryptography is almost as old as time. If cryptography would be enough, we would have something like Bitcoin like 5,000 years ago. We had crypto devices for thousands of years. We had public ledgers for like way over 5,000 years. Why did no one come up with Bitcoin? I mean, it's all the puzzle pieces were there, right? Yeah, well, not really. But cryptography alone is not enough. Cryptography alone does not provide integrity, and that's a big problem. Cryptography alone also does not provide legitimacy. And to understand what I mean by that, we have to go into political philosophy just for like 1 minute. Anyone know who this guy is? I'm going to go quick. Thomas Hobbes. And he said something very profound. Authority, not truth, creates legitimacy. And he was talking about state power. And that is absolutely true. It doesn't matter if it's truthful or not. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. If the state says it, it's legit. You have to comply with it. You have to believe it. It's the truth. And of course, as we all know, Bitcoin changes you. And so Thomas Hobbes turns into Reification. We have our own philosophers now. And what Reification said about Bitcoin power is that truth, not authority, creates legitimacy. And that's exactly right. That's 100% correct, and everyone should read this guy. I know he comes off as crazy, but he's a very smart cookie. So everyone should read his blog, and he's on a mission to reclaim the word crypto. And yeah, everyone should read this guy, 100%. So crypto is what we're going to talk about next. But I'm going to talk about crypto in the Satoshi sense mostly, because he meant cryptography. And again, I want to repeat, cryptography is not enough. The thing about cryptography is it requires secrecy. It does not provide legitimacy automatically, and it does not tie itself to reality automatically. We always have the problem with computers. If you feed garbage in, garbage comes out. Crypto still has this problem. And cryptography also does not provide scarcity automatically, as you know, we can see with over 9,000 shitcoins listed on CoinMarketCap. Like, it's ridiculous. If you hear crypto, just, you know, just equate it to rug pulls. If you ever hear crypto, just think rug pull. Then the world makes way more sense. And that brings us to the great rug. So we are living not only through the great reset, but also through the great rug. And I consider pretty much any crypto project a rug pull. It's just the difference is of how fast the rug is going to be pulled. Fiat is also a rug pull, and you know the inflation rate just tells you how fast the rug is getting pulled. That's what's going on. And so I want to tell you the thing is, you know, about rug pulls is, it ain't what you don't know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. So people are relying on systems that they don't understand, and then they think it works in one way, and then, you know, the rug is pulled, and you're very confused and hurt and poor and all the rest of it. And Satoshi, to allow me to paraphrase him, what he says is like, you know, where there's trust in others, there's a rug. Like, if you read all his writings, that's what he says over and over and over again. We have to remove trusted third parties. All right, Bitcoin fixes this, obviously. That's why Satoshi created Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not crypto. Bitcoin is not a rug pull. Bitcoin is actually anti-rug pull technology. And Bitcoin provides legitimacy, and Bitcoin also combines, like, it provides legitimacy by combining reality with cryptography. It combines physics and math. It combines crypto with proof. It combines keys and work. And most importantly, those two are not the same thing. Those are not the same thing. That is the crucial point. If you remove work from the system, you return to keys, and you return to key holders, and you return to quorums that have keys. And we don't want to have that. Reality and theory are not the same thing. Reality is that which survives. That is one way you can define reality. And to quote my good friend Alan Franklin, only the strong survive. Everyone should read this as well. So we have to talk about strength for a minute. So who knows this guy? I'll tell you. It's Adam's back. So that's how I call this artwork. So we have to talk about Adam Back because Adam Back basically invented proof of work, and that's what Bitcoin is using. And the beautiful thing about proof of work is that proof of work is self-evident. So proof of work is always about transformation. It's true for the pyramids, that's true for the ripped guy in the gym, that's true for any proof of work. It's always about transformation. Bitcoin is digital, and if all we have is data, all we have is computation. So the transformation in Bitcoin is about computation. And this is tied to electricity, and this is how it's tied to energy. And as Europe is finding out, you cannot print energy. So energy is what gives Bitcoin scarcity, basically. That's what people say when they say Bitcoin is like a battery, stuff like that. Proof of work is costly, very important. It's a costly signal. Like you cannot cheat in proof of work. The only way to do it is to actually do it. It's not a simulation. You have to do the proof of work. There is no shortcut. That's why it provides integrity. There is no shortcut to hard work. And so it provides integrity without authority, without crypto keys, and without secrecy. And that's the important point. So the difficulty-adjusted proof of work is the solution. All right, how are we on time? I think I'm wrecked.
2 minutes.
Okay, I won't be able to make it. All right, you all know the story of the sage and the chessboard and so on and so forth. It's a very unintuitive thing. That's my favorite Bitcoin riddle. Let's assume the last block came in 9 minutes ago. We all know 10 minutes, every 10 minutes a block comes in. The noobs will say, yeah, 1 minute, the next block comes in. But we are all Bitcoiners, we know. Like the correct answer is 10 minutes, always. It's always 10 minutes. It's about these 10 minutes. And in Bitcoin, every 10 minutes, the truth asserts itself, and the truth emerges, and the past becomes stone, and information is reified. So it's about these 10 minutes, always. And it's about this window of duration. Like that's the only constant in Bitcoin. The 21 million emerges out of this constant. And so it's about these 10 minutes of history that Bitcoin settles. But it's also about the future, and I'm going to show you very quickly how this works, that we land on the 21 million. 21 million is never set in the code, really. It's like the 21 million emerge out of these 10 minutes. That's why Bitcoin's issuance is set in time. It's not tied to energy, the issuance. The distribution is tied to energy, but not the issuance itself. Otherwise, with free energy, we could mine all in Bitcoin in an instant. That's not how Bitcoin works. So the issuance is set in time. That's why we know in approximately the year 2140, all 21 million are going to be mined. So that's how it all hangs together. So that's what I mean when I say Bitcoin is time. It's about this 10 minutes and the past and the future, and how they hang together in digital space. So the difficulty-adjusted proof of work creates unforgeable history. That's really important. It is a truthful history that is created. And this is what solves the root problem, which is also called the double spending problem and so on, but we phrased it as, integrity and trust. So it solves this without relying on any secrecy. I will hammer home this point over and over again to get it in everyone's brain, because it's such an important point. And like the proof of stake people, for example, and others, they want to reintroduce trust into the question by removing that what actually solves it. And that it reintroduces key holders and so on. It also solves all the problems of monies of the past, especially in the digital realm. If people say double spending, this is what they actually mean, whether they know it or not. We need trustless issuance, we need decentralized timestamping, we need cryptanalytic stability, we need digital scarcity, and we need data integrity. And now all the computer science people are going to go like, what the fuck, data integrity? We had data integrity forever. Yeah, no, not really. We always needed keys. And even then it's hard. But if you must not have keys and must not have key holders, how do you provide integrity of public data? It's a really, really, really hard problem. So if you cannot have private keys, how do you make sure that the data that you're looking at is truthful and has integrity? And of course, to find this out, We need to have another look at this orange. And we're back to splitting it up and going to yin and yang, because we're going to talk about integrity and validation, 12 words and 21 million, private keys and public ledgers. And if you have private keys, data integrity is super, super easy. You have key pairs, asymmetric cryptography. We know how to do this since forever. If we only have public ledgers, that's really, really hard. How do you do it? You need this guy again. You absolutely need proof of work. There is no other way. I'm convinced of that. I'm absolutely convinced of that. It's like a law of nature. You need, you need to have self-evidence in the data. And you cannot create this any other way. Any other way always relies on secrecy. And we don't want to have any key holders. We don't want to have any secrecy. We want to have a system available, validatable to all. We don't want to have kings that hold keys. In Bitcoin, everyone is a king because everyone holds a key. You know? So that was the big brain idea of Satoshi Nakamoto, in my estimation, because he was able to think decentralized completely. And he knew this because he said, I think this is the first time we're trying a decentralized, non-trust-based system. And he was very right about that. So, crypto-proof, cryptography is not enough. We also need the reification of information. We need the difficulty-adjusted proof of work, which solves all the problems. So I stole this phrase, reification of information, from Adam Gibson. And I believe we need a third thing. We need responsibility, because the freedom that is enabled by Bitcoin relies on the responsibility of all its users. You actually have to hold your own keys. You have to have your 12 words under control. You have to run your own node. You have to understand these things, kinda, you know, a little bit at least, enough to use it properly. Otherwise, we will have one big Coinbase node and we're fucked again. Like, it literally, responsibility is the other side of the coin, of the freedom coin. So, I told you in the beginning, the Bitcoin is knowledge, and that this is literally true. It's literally true because Bitcoin is 12 words in your head, and knowledge is also Bitcoin, you know, but that's how these things work if you equate things. And so, to bring it all together, let's bring those two pieces together, and I'll be done in 2 minutes from now. So, private keys and public ledgers, 12 words in your head and 21 million. Completely public information, verifiable by anyone. For some magic to happen, you have to bring these two together, otherwise Bitcoin is useless. Only when these two come together, the orange emerges. And so if Alice wants to send 21 sats to Bob, she needs a private key, a valid one, and she needs to sign a transaction. You guys all know this. And then this transaction is broadcast and everything is validated. She needs to do this, a valid copy of the public information as well. And if everything checks out, the transaction is broadcast, lands in the mempool where it's swimming around, and this is the eternal now of Bitcoin, and which connects everything, and this is how everything hangs together, the public and the private, and so on and so forth. And then, with any luck, if everything checks out and the signature is valid and the valid block is found, roughly every 10 minutes, that's why 12 and 10 and 21 are connected and are the important numbers in Bitcoin, by my estimation. And what Bitcoin is saying, because Bitcoin is speech, transaction confirmed, and by proxy, it's also saying moral code confirmed, integrity confirmed, and as we said in the very beginning, the moral code is you shall not steal. That's what Bitcoin is saying every 10 minutes without relying on trust. Thank you. I don't think we have time for questions, do we?
No.
There you go. All questions answered. Thanks.
Don't go. I just have an update from your seat that you show on screen. It has been split. It was 1 million, so it went 650 to miners and 350 sats to the winner, because there was a battle. Children pays for parent.
Very good.
Yeah, and it was a rough fight. At the end,
Very good.
A Spanish guy won.
Very good.
It's Arcad. So yeah, that
Congratulations to all the artists on Twitter. Well done.
Okay, so now I wanna call Olga and Maxim. Sorry? Only one? Okay. Okay. So only Maxim.